Hello, everybody. This is Tani Sofia Acosta again, and I just wanted to thank everybody for looking at my videos. And this would be day 5 of my 30-day YouTube adventures. So I really appreciate everybody looking at this. And so, what I wanted to talk, I've been talking about coming out, but I wanted to take a little bit of a different path today. I will keep talking about coming out, but this path is a little different, and I'm going to talk more. I was talking a lot in specifics, and today I want to talk more in generalities. Okay, so I think the problem today is in this many people are struggling in real life how to get along in this post-COVID environment. And so in this post-COVID environment, I wanted to talk about a few things that are very straightforward. Number one, there's been a recent article in Psychology Today which states some 40% of U.S. adults are reporting symptoms of anxiety, depression during the pandemic, which is up 10% from the pre-pandemic levels. As well, there's a dramatic shortage of licensed therapists in the U.S. and beyond. So people need help, but they can't get it. Again, I probably shared this again, but survivors of COVID have a 35% higher risk of developing anxiety disorder. Survivors of COVID as well have a 39% higher risk of developing depressive disorder. And disorder means that this persists for a long period of time. So it's really clear that people need mental health support or just well-being support. The conclusions of this study were that life coaching is comparable to therapy in patient relationships and outcome. Also, 58% of patients with depression symptoms experienced a clinical recovery after at least one session with a certified coach. That is really fantastic. So, what I really want to talk about, yes, the focus of my practice is to help LGBTQ people, dealing with living, maybe feeling like they're living a lie, and being able to come in and remove all these issues and live their true authentic life they're meant to live. And what comes with the issues of not living the life you're meant to live or not being yourself. Okay, so I'm going to talk about symptoms right now, and I'm going to share a few symptoms. Okay, so for example, you could be feeling nervous, you could feel restless or tense. You could have a sense of impending danger, panic, or doom. You could physically experience this by an increased heart rate, sweating, trembling, breathing rapidly. Okay. Another set of symptoms is, you could be having a feeling of emptiness or sadness. You could have reduced interest in activities you used to enjoy. You could have a lot of irritability or easily irritated. And, and these can come out other ways. Another set of symptoms could be even a little bit more up, dialed up. You could have dealing with shock or denial or disbelief. And with that comes confusion and difficulty concentrating, or even worse, guilt, shame, and self-blame. Okay. Or feeling disconnected and numb. Some of these things can manifest as well as physical, like feeling helpless and passive, feeling clingy or having separation anxiety, having eating disturbances. Or you might have constant worry about potential illness. You might view normal physical sensations as a sign of something that's really severe. Okay? So these really, the list of these symptoms that I just read is not definitive, it's not biblical, but these things that I just read come from symptoms of anxiety, depression, or trauma. But if you notice, if you heard these symptoms, and these come out of psychological journals, these symptoms really sound pretty close, don't they? They sound very, very close. So really, in a way, I think the byproduct of not being authentic and the byproduct of not being able to live your truth, they produce all these symptoms. And these symptoms may come out in very specific ways, But in essence, to help people coming out, or to help people that haven't come to terms with who they really are, or they want to, but haven't made it that far yet, we're really dealing with symptoms of anxiety, depression, and trauma. Because it's traumatic not being yourself. Who wouldn't want to be their self? Well, what it turns out, there's a whole set of unique challenges, a whole set of very difficult circumstances that are related to being yourself when you're LGBTQ. And we all know what that. I think many of us, we don't need a psychologist to say what those are, or a hypnotherapist, or any kind of therapist. But what we really do is we need to get through these things. We may have an accumulation of these issues that we've dealt with, throughout our lives. And at some point, it just becomes so exhausting trying to deal, or having the coping skills to deal with all these things. And so you can consider there's a pain of all these things that are there. The pain of not being yourself, the pain of not being authentic, the pain of not being able to live that, and trying to live by other people's expectations. And likewise, there's fear. There's a fear associated with that pain. There's a fear of coming out. There's the fear of, very real repercussions that could happen if you come out. Real repercussions if you are out. That fear is very real. As time goes by, sometimes on a scale, there's the fear, and these pains could start to accumulate and elevate. So sometimes those pains, those symptoms might get so big, they might force us into action. Okay? And maybe that's not the best place to come from when you're trying to solve something, and maybe it could be a gift that, things elevate that high that one gets forced into action. So really what I want to do as part of my practice and part of serving this amazing community is, though we're attaching all this wording to it, all these feelings, all these symptoms, all this intense life experience that comes from really wanting to live your truth, really wanting to have that happiness at the end of the rainbow, really wanting to express that fully, without limit, and without an accumulation of all these things of depression, anxiety, trauma, etc. Okay? And so what's at the end of that? And I think really is the happiness and fulfillment of being so real. So really, the focus of what I'm doing is really to give freedom from anxiety, depression, and trauma for those in our extended LGBTQ plus community, so that you can really move forward and live the lives that you're meant to live. So anyway, this might sound really simple. There's a lot of other symptoms that I can describe, but I think, maybe sometime it'd be good just to take a pause and ask yourself, how much is the pain that you may be struggling with? What is that number to that pain? And maybe what's the number to the fear, or the, being trapped or frozen or not being able to do it? What is that number? What is that number for you? And you can kind of judge where you're at. The reason why that drives me is, when you're getting to the point where fear is here, and all its consequences, and the consequences could be very big, and the pain, sometimes getting the pain level of not being authentic really can lead to a lot of really difficult things. And really what I feel committed to is, I don't want to see people get to this high point. Because this high point of pain and suffering, one, it can have trauma that's hard to undo or it takes a lot of effort. Second, it could lead to a lot of other things, addictions, it can lead to some really dark places. And so why wait? Why wait to get to this point? Why not deal with it here when it's a lot more flexible, a lot more easy? Yeah, the fear is always going to be there. But you know what? Outside the LGBTQ equation, we have lots of fears in life. Fears of doing business, fears of, driving on the freeways. There's lots of fears that are very, very real fears. Okay? But how beautiful it is not to live in fear about who we are, though there's real things to be concerned about. But isn't it beautiful? Isn't it empowering? And isn't it healthy to live very authentically about who you are? And so really the focus of what I want to offer is so people can get to that place as naturally, as organically as they can. So anyway, I really wanted to thank everybody who's been listening to my videos. And I'm going to keep them going. And I'm going to delve into all kinds of material. This may seem kind of simple, but I think it's pretty big. And so I may be talking about coming out from all these different angles, or it may sound a touch repetitive, but it's not. So anyway, thank you for joining me. And I look forward to talking to you soon. And please give me any comments, any feedback, good, bad, or otherwise. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.